Welcome to the Salvos. We trust that you'll be blessed by this week's video.
That's fine. If you've got your Bibles today, you might like to turn to Mark chapter 8. We're going to look at Mark chapter 8 today, from verse 22. Mark 8. Mark 8 from verse 22 to 26. In my Bible it's entitled The Healing of a Blind Man at Bethsaida. They came to Bethsaida, and some people brought a blind man and begged Jesus to touch him. He took the blind man by the hand and led him outside the village. When he had spat on the man's eyes and put his hands on him, Jesus asked, "Do you see anything?" He looked up and said, "I see people. They only look like trees walking around." Once more Jesus put his hands on the man's eyes. Then his eyes were opened, his sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. Jesus sent him home, saying, "Do not go into the village." That was Mark 8, verse 22 to 26. When you were young, when you were a lot younger than you are today, did you sort of imagine how big the world was and sort of see how big the world was and sort of was a bit blown away by it? I remember, especially when I was a kid, thinking of these places overseas, far, far away, and thinking, like, I can't believe that these places exist. And you know the saying, seeing is believing? Seeing is believing, isn't it? Is that true? Seeing is believing. Let's look at the PowerPoint, Pete. I'm going to go through some slides. There's, let me just get my sheet. There should be a PowerPoint coming up with some pictures. Anyway. One of the places I imagined long, far, far away, which I heard about, was the Eiffel Tower. I remember when I was a kid, imagining the Eiffel Tower. Is that working, Pete? Alright. You good? That one? Is there a picture? Yep, there we go. Has anyone actually been to see this? Oh, one person. Nice. But it's a long way away from here, isn't it? Like, especially being a child born in Australia, hearing about things like this a long way away is quite amazing. There's another picture there, I think the next one at night. Do you see it at night, Irene? You did? It's quite amazing that with the lights that shine around the top as well. Yeah, it is quite amazing, isn't it? And that's almost literally on the other side of the world, isn't it? Where you come from and all these places are literally on the other side of the world, long way away. I think it's one more picture of the Eiffel Tower as well. It's quite amazing, isn't it? It is a beautiful thing. If you go down one more, there's another place that I imagined as a kid, the Colosseum. You hear a lot about it in history and in some cartoons these days, but as a kid I was fascinated by this place, so far away. Just in hear the stories that happened in this place, some of the murders, the war, and a whole lot of games as well. Yep. And then there's another place too. It's not too far from me. Right. This one I think fascinated me the most. Did this one fascinate anyone else as well? The Pyramids of Egypt, Pyramids of Giza. And the next one down has the Sphinx as well. Just how did people create this so long ago and so far away? It was just amazing stuff. I think there's one more picture of some camels as well. It's a foreign world, isn't it, to us here in Australia? Me as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old kid, was like, I can't even imagine this place. Just so far away and so foreign, but amazing at the same time. And this next one, do you recognise this? Leaning Tower of Pisa, or if, as a kid you might call it Leaning Tower of Pizza. Yeah. But this one fascinated me the most. I almost imagined myself dreaming of, or almost, I remember as a 7-year-old kid imagining being there when this thing fell. It was weird. I just had this imagination of, oh yeah, one day it's going to fall. I wonder if I'll be there that day. It's like just weird, isn't it? The next picture is some fun ones. You know when people go to visit it, they sort of take funny photos like this? Some people are very clever. It's good. And there's one more on the next slide. That's a very common one. A lot of people pose holding it up. And I think there's one more actually. Yeah. Someone holding up, someone holding her up. That's good. Very clever. How about this next one? Anyone recognise that? Taj Mahal in India. Another amazing creation on, not so far away as the others, but like in India. All made of marble, beautiful, beautiful architecture. There's a few more photos I think of this. Just an amazing, beautiful place, built for one of the king's wives. I'll pause there for a second. But as a kid, these places were so far away, and I remember just this saying in my head going, seeing is believing. And I couldn't believe these places existed until I saw them myself. Is that like the case with you guys as well? A lot of these places, you can't believe them until you see them. And so I had the chance to go see some of these places. If you want to go down a couple of slides, my chance to show off. I got to see the Eiffel Tower. Over 10 years ago now, I got to see the Eiffel Tower at night, and I got to believe that was true. I finally believed it was really there. If you go down one more, I got to see the Colosseum too. It's really there, just in case you haven't seen it to believe it as well. Next, I got to see the pyramids too. This was my favourite. Like as a kid, I had to see Egypt. It was just fascinating. So the pyramids do exist, and I've been in one of them. If you go to the next slide, the Sphinx as well. Got to pose with the Sphinx. I got told off by my sister in a lot of these photos I didn't smile. But that one I sort of smiled. It's good. And the next one I was a bit serious again. I don't know why. I just didn't smile. It must be my sister just took photography. It's like, come on, Warren, just take a photo. And the next one, I had to have a go at it as well. I had to have a go. But anyway, it was good fun. You're there, you have to do these things. Next slide. The Taj Mahal's real as well. This one was fascinating. It was really a beautiful place. And,
you don't look as if you're enjoying it.
like I said, I don't smile in photos. it's a thing I've learned recently, smiling photos. But I'm slightly smirking. Let's go with that. I was happy to be there. It was a cold, foggy day. It was pretty cold, but it was a beautiful thing. I think it's one more photo. Maybe a little bit closer to it, but yeah, amazing architecture. But yeah, seeing is believing is a big thing. I think that we sort of say in our world. And I think faith is a bit like that, isn't it too? Like we don't get to see a whole lot of things, we still believe them. So if seeing was believing with faith, it would be a completely different thing, I think. And this part that we just read in Mark 8 is all about seeing, isn't it? We've got this guy who's being blind, and he cries out to Jesus to give him sight back. But this whole chapter is quite interesting in itself. If you've got your Bibles open again, if you go back to the start of the chapter, we start off by Jesus feeding the 4,000. What's happening here? A huge miracle where they've got 7 baskets of food, 7 bits of food that they feed 4,000 people with, end up with 7 baskets left over. And afterwards, Jesus asked the disciples what was going on there. Did they see what actually happened? It's about seeing what the kingdom of God is doing here. This whole chapter is quite interesting in Mark. Mark's a very clever guy who put together some metaphorical stuff in the chapter, as well as the physical. So it starts off by feeding the 4,000. Can you see what's happening here is basically what Jesus is saying to his disciples. Can you see what I just did? And then in verse 14, it's about seeing who the Pharisees really are. This discussion that Jesus has with the disciples. Can you see the Pharisees? Can you see them for who they really are? He's trying to open up their eyes, bit by bit. And then in verse 22, which we're going to talk about today, healing the blind man, giving him sight. Then after that, verse 27, Peter's confession, which we looked at a few weeks ago now, is about seeing who Jesus really is and confessing that. Can you see the pattern here? And in verse 31, Jesus predicts his death. He sees what's going to happen, and he tells his disciples. This whole chapter is actually about seeing. I'm not sure if you've noticed that before. It's not really obvious, but Mark's bringing out the sight part of faith. And even at the start of the next chapter, chapter 9, Mark chapter 9, it starts off with the transfiguration. So Peter, James and John get to see Jesus for who he is. It's quite an amazing part of the Bible. Mark's all about this part of Mark. So seeing isn't believing. I think seeing or metaphorically understanding is what Jesus is trying to bring out here and Mark's trying to bring out here. And understanding, the seeing part of understanding is important with the things of God. And hopefully you've realised that over the years as well. That seeing, understanding God is critical So let's look at today's story in Mark 8 from verse 22. It starts off by saying, they came to Bethsaida, and some people brought a blind man and begged Jesus to touch him. They'd heard many stories of Jesus healing people, hadn't they? Fixing people and doing miraculous things. So they knew that this blind man, if he went to Jesus and just begged him to heal him, he'd do it, right? Jesus wouldn't turn that down. So they brought this blind man and begged Jesus just to simply touch him. In verse 23 it says, Jesus took the blind man by the hand and led him outside the village. Reading verses like this, you might just skip over, saying there was nothing really important in there. If we read that a little bit again, there's quite a little bit in there actually. It said, Jesus took the blind man by the hand and led him outside the village. There's a whole lot of stuff we can read between the lines in the Bible. Like there's so much that happened, they skim over a lot. But Jesus took him by the hand. Can you visualize this? This blind man, Jesus actually took him by the hand himself and took him outside the village. Isn't that just a sign of love and God and just being the shepherd there? Jesus took him by the hand and led him outside the village. But that's the second part there too, led him outside the village. Why would he even do that? I think this village here there's a lot of trouble happening, and a lot of people had rejected Jesus in this town. So Jesus, by removing him out of the town, gave him a fresh spiritual start, didn't he? If there's a terrible place where people just reject God, you know, the Bible says shake your feet, shake the dust off your feet and get out of there. So Jesus takes this guy by the hand, shows him some love, and being the good shepherd, and takes him out of this place of unbelief and a whole lot of issues there. So he takes him outside with his freshness, his opportunity, the spiritual cleanliness in some ways, I suppose, isn't there? When he took him outside the village, and when he spat on the man's eyes and put his hands to him, Jesus asked, do you see anything? Again, in this verse, there's quite a lot in here too. Firstly, he spat on the man's eyes. I think there's only 3 parts in the Bible where Jesus actually used saliva. Does anyone know why he might use spit? Did he need to use spit? Probably not. There's a few different ways of thinking about that. Apparently the Romans, sort of outside the Jewish culture at that time, the Romans believed there was a healing property in spit. But then in the Jewish culture, spitting on someone was actually disrespectful. So what was happening here? Jesus spat on this man's eyes. I'm sure he didn't need to. Jesus was there at creation, right? He didn't need to, all he needed was his words, be healed. He didn't need to do physical acts of spitting or anything like that. But he did anyway. So what was Jesus doing here? He spat on his hands and put on these man's eyes. And then he said, do you see anything? The man looked around, looked up and said, I see people. They look like trees walking around. So his sight partially came back, but not completely. You can see people walking around a bit like trees, so it must have been pretty blurry. Not sure if anyone's got cataracts here, is it like that? But this man saw people moving around a bit like trees. So that tells me also too that this man wasn't born blind. He knew what trees were. He knew what they looked like. So this man must have lost his sight somewhere along the track. But the question that I was asking myself when I read this was, why didn't his sight come back straight away? Like, this was Jesus we're talking about. Jesus who was there at creation, who brought the stars and the planets and the universe into place. Surely Jesus could have brought this man's sight back like that. Like literally the blink of an eye. Couldn't he? So what happened here? What's happening here? Was this man maybe not ready to receive sight straight away? Maybe he would have missed the miracle or something. What's going on here? So he looked up and said, I see people walking around looking like trees. So then one more time in verse 25, once more Jesus put his hands on the man's eyes. Then his eyes were opened, his sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. So it took Jesus 2 times, twice, to heal this man. I don't think he needed to, but I think for this man's sake, he took 2 times. I think this man gradually needed to be brought back to giving sight. And for some of us, it's like that, isn't it? When Jesus shows us things, if he showed us the truth of the kingdom straight away, it would have been too quick for us. It would have been too much, too fast. But But I think Jesus knows that for each of us, God's revelation comes in stages, doesn't it? I'm not sure if you were born into Christian homes or brought up believing in Jesus straight away, or if God gave you all the truth of the kingdom straight away, just one quick download, or if we're still learning the kingdom stuff now. I think for me personally, God's still revealing stuff to me little by little, almost like a drip feed. Because if God showed me everything of the kingdom straight away, it would have been too much. It would have been overwhelming. Just like this guy got his sight back little by little. I think that's what God does for us with the kingdom of God, doesn't he? I don't think we're all ready to be shown everything straight away. And I think Mark's trying to show us a lot of stuff in this chapter here about seeing. Actually revealing the things of the kingdom of God. And God does it little by little, doesn't he? Like his sight was restored, his eyes were opened. And I think spiritually speaking, we need that as Christians too, don't we? We need Jesus to come and open our eyes to the truth in this world. Because the enemy is going to try to close our eyes, put scales on our eyes, or confuse us with lies, isn't he? So Jesus, being the one who gives us sight, is one I go to ask for sight quite regularly. So even if it was a literal thing, I think there's a whole lot of metaphorical and spiritual truths in here as well, aren't there? Are we blind to certain things of the kingdom? Is the question that was going in my head when I was reading this. Is there things that we may be blind to right now? Some of the truths of the kingdom of God? And if we are, do we know it? Are we aware of this blinding? Because I know the enemy can come in and try to cause confusion all the time, can't he? Does anyone know what John 10 verse 10 says off the top of your head? Does anyone know what John 10:10 says? This is a big one for me. It says, "The thief comes only to steal, kill and destroy." Have you heard that before? The thief, or the enemy, Satan as we know him, only comes to steal, kill and destroy. And boy is he doing that in this world at the moment. Even a lot of God's people are getting confused and getting their eyes closed or blinded by the enemy. He's coming to steal the truth, kill our spirits, kill our hope, and destroy everything that is good in this world. He's coming to steal, kill and destroy. So this whole thing for me is that God was speaking to me about seeing truth today. That Jesus would ask Jesus to give us sight. And he might do it in stages for us. Like this guy took him two attempts to see again. But are we seeing the truth of the kingdom in our world, in our hearts, in this world around us? Because I know there's times coming where the enemy is going to cause so much chaos, even within the church. Are we seeing the truth of the kingdom of God? And if we're not, are we going to Jesus and begging him like this man, "Jesus, give me sight. Let me see the truth. Let me see what's actually going on in this world around us." Because we know if you've read the Bible, if you've read especially the end of the Bible, there's some terrible days coming. We as God's people need to be aware of that, and we need to ask Jesus to show us, give us sight, show us the truth in all of this. I'm not sure if you know much about spiritual warfare, but it used to be one of my bigger things. I used to love spiritual warfare, and God used to use me to see the darkness disappear and God's love overcome. And I know that things are getting harder, especially for us as the church, us as Christians, us as followers of Jesus. Things are going to get harder and harder. And I know days are coming where there's going to be massive confusion for the church coming. Everything of the kingdom will be opposed very soon, if not already in part. And everything that we know as truth is going to be classed as evil. I think we've already seen parts of this, haven't we? The enemy is going to start causing so much confusion. Even in simple things like political correctness. There's a lot of that's shutting down the kingdom of God, isn't there? I've got to be careful what I say, but it's truth. I believe it's truth. And God, everything of God in the kingdom of God is going to be shut down and classed as wrong and evil soon. So we as God's people need to be able to ask God, "Jesus, give us sight. Show us what is truth. Show us what is good." Are we seeing clearly, or are we being blinded by the enemy? Are we being confused? Even just looking around us, even here in Salvos, there's a lot of mental illness, isn't there? And I wonder if some of that is actually from the enemy, just to confuse us, to make things not right. But Jesus can make all things right, can't he? Jesus can make all things new and give us sight, just like this blind man. You hear Jesus saying to us, like in verse 23, do you see anything? If Jesus said that to us today, do you see anything? What can we say? Oh yeah, I can see a little bit blurry, but I know things aren't really clear for me right now. Well, if we want to see clearly, if we want to see the kingdom of God working here, let's ask Jesus again, a second time. Give me sight, Jesus. Let me see. Reveal your kingdom to me today. Let Jesus put his hands on your eyes again, so you can see clearly. In the last verse of 20-26, Jesus sent him home, but said, don't go into the village. Even though he took him out of all this bad stuff, he said, don't go back there. And I think that's an important thing too, isn't it? Stay away from what is bad. If there's a place where you go where this causes confusion to you mentally, spiritually, or anything like that, stay away from it. Here Jesus said, tell you today, don't go back there. He wants you to see clearly and to stay seeing clearly. That song's just coming to my head. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I always want to sing it, but I'm not. I'm not singing today. But isn't it true though? The church is going to be so confused soon. We can read it in the Bible, we know it's coming. So for us as a church, ask Jesus to give you vision today. Just like this man came to him and begged him. It's almost like that. They came to Sale, and some of the people went to Jesus and begged him to touch us. He took us by the hand and walked us to a safe place. Touched our eyes and said, can you see? Hopefully that's what Jesus is doing for us today. Giving us vision, letting us see clearly the things of the kingdom of God. But no, even as the officer here, as the pastor, there's so much that's happening all the time that's distracting me, that's changing my vision. Taking my eyes off what should be on. And Sale is a tough place spiritually. I'm not sure if you know that, but Sale here is a tough place spiritually. There is some strong spiritual warfare. I usually thrive in the place of spiritual warfare, seeing God and His kingdom come. But even doing spiritual warfare here, I'm actually getting tired. It's tough. So I think we really need to be very, very careful of seeing clearly. We need to ask Jesus to show us what is truth. What is you, Jesus? What is of the kingdom right here, right now? And Jesus, let all the scales fall from our eyes. Let all the things that are not of you, God, Jesus, just go away from our eyes. Let us see clearly. Let us see the things of the kingdom here. So what do we need Jesus to fix for our sight? Maybe for our minds today? Is there something that's on your mind that you need Jesus to give you sight, give you clarity for today? Are we actually believing or living out lies of the enemy? And we don't even realise it. Well, my prayer for us today is that Jesus will give us sight, give us clarity, let us see the truth, and not see lies of truth. I'm going to play a song in a second, another video called Not Today. It's one of the newer songs by the young guys in the Hillsong Church. Some great words in this song. It's about basically telling the devil, not today. It's all I like. It's a great song. I hopefully you enjoy the words in a second, but it's basically saying, bring the light here, Jesus. Let us stomp on the enemy. Let's stand on Jesus and tell the enemy, not today. You're not going to touch us today. It's great. So as we sing this song, or as we play this song, you might like to just listen to it. But if you want some prayer this morning too, let's take this opportunity to share a prayer. Because if you think you're living in a lie, if you're believing something that maybe is not true, or you know that you're not seeing clearly the kingdom of God right now, let's take this opportunity. There's only a few of us. Let's pray. And make the most of telling the enemy, not today. If you need some prayer, so even stand where you are, I can come and pray with you, but let's just tell the enemy not today. And ask Jesus to give us sight, to see the truth, to see the kingdom of God here around us. And we'll ask him what he wants us to do here in Salem. Let's listen to the song.